If this all was built up in my system when I was young, then that means I would have given it to my children. So then I decided I'm going to test my daughter, who's 22, and see where her lead levels were. This was all before I was 30 years old at the minimum, probably all during college and growing up. So now I'm like, we have to stop this downward slope. I'm like saying to my daughter, before you ever have children, we got to get this out of your body. Welcome to the Deeper Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Howley. This is for everyone who's been dismissed, misdiagnosed, or told to just live with it and refuse to accept that answer. You're going to hear amazing patient recovery stories, raw and real in their own words. People who found answers after everything had failed them. You're going to hear from medical experts we trust that are pioneering new approaches to healing the body, because we deeply know we're designed to heal. Let's dig in. Welcome back to the Deeper Healing Podcast, and we are going to talk to Chip again. We just got to talking after the podcast that we recorded, and I found it very interesting how he was exposed to heavy metals. And he's a contractor or a builder and builds cabinetry. And for a lot of listeners out there, I feel like the heavy metal talk can get a little confusing, and people are kind of like, what is heavy metals? How do we get them? People think they're in our water, they're, lead pipes, and we think of big ones like lead and mercury. There's some other ones. And I know Chip was exposed, his levels came up and a couple different ones were elevated. I'm trying to pull them up actually right now. But the interesting thing is the mercury
Mercury. Yep.
came up really, really, really high on your levels. And
Yep.
you were telling me how you think you had your exposure. So let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I grew up in a electrical apparatus family, meaning that my grandfather started a electrical company in the 1920s. And then my dad took it over. And then, of course, I worked there from when I was 6 to 32, seems like. And so the electrical world has a lot of mercury involved in switches, breakers. It's everywhere in the old electrical world. And mercury was used on some of the soldering devices. It was a commonly used metal or an alloy that was just heavily used in the electrical world. We saw exposed buckets of mercury, and so how it was used as connectivity between 2 points. Um, Everybody's thermostat in their home had mercury in it. I mean, it was commonplace. And so, you know, sitting with Jules and talking about, I'm thinking the Mad Hatter's disease. I'm like, am I going to die? And then she's like, well, your mother probably gave you a ton of it. You were born with it. And it came back to, okay, I was exposed to it in a lot of places. Being in the contracting world, remodeling and building homes, not so much the new homes, but we're in Charleston. I mean, some of these houses have been here forever.
Oh, yeah.
And the lead and the mercury that was just used in the building products world, whether it was to help save keep other animals out of the wood. I've heard of them using mercury to soak wood in to help keep termites and rot and things like that out. So, you're in tearing some of these houses out, stuff out of the house, and you're exposed to lead, and you're exposed to the mercury. You're supposed to wear a mask, but what good is that little mask going to do? So sometimes you're hot, you're heavy, you're hard to breathe, and you just don't wear it. You don't do anything. So your levels of exposure to that. And, it just made me reflect on how much of it I was around and then what it's doing to me. You just don't put two and two together until the reverse reaction to living that lifestyle and being in those environments and work now showed up, reared its ugly head. And if I'd known this now, what I was doing back then I would have started this stuff earlier. Don't wait till it gets so bad you just feel like there's no help or hope, and would have really changed the course of action in getting myself better.
Yeah. And well, one of the reasons I think this is such an important conversation because we see a lot of men that are contractors and that are builders around here and they're on site. And I mean, I know we have a handful of them that have come through deeper healing where we're seeing the same pattern of this heavy metal exposure. And, you look at their history and we're like, holy cow.
Well,
Like,
it's funny, like even the not only just the trades, but anyone who's doing demo, anyone who's doing paint. I know you're probably not painting your cabinets. They're coming painted, but a lot of people are building and painting. The pilots, the flight attendants, these are all occupations with high metals. The chemicals on the hairdressers. I mean, there's so many occupations. So I don't want to say rare. A lot of people, when they get their metals results, they're completely shocked. They're like, wait, I had no idea. You had a clue. You were like, I'm sure when you were getting that test done, you're like, oh boy.
I had no idea it was going to be as bad as it was.
Okay.
Like my test came back saying that my mercury was so high that everything else on there was inconclusive because it was blocking a good lead reading.
Whoa.
Now the lead came out being awful. I mean, it's way into the red, but it basically said, Jules said, we can't even. The rest of this says that you're positive for it, but we can't get a good reading because the mercury is just so high.
Yeah.
That we and it just scares you. I mean, it's you're scared straight, basically. And knowing that, wow, how did I get this? What did I do to myself? And then go, because we see these things like, oh, you ate fish. Wow. I mean, really? I mean, is that where it all came from? No, I don't. I eat fish, but I don't eat a lot of it.
Right.
So where else would I be?
Right.
And then it really, being pushed to, okay, let's think about what was there. And then I'm like, wow, I'm not heavy in the electrical world anymore, but wow, I lived so many years in that. I was exposed to it as a child because I went to work with my dad. I was always around the shop and it was just in buckets, of us draining it out. And I look back, I thought about that. I'm like, well, where'd that go? Is that like buckets of fluoride?
Oh,
Like, where did it go? Did they just pour it down the drain? Where did it go?
I often have thoughts like that.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
I used to be in a dark room all the time where you'd have all the development chemicals.
right.
And it was at a school where it was running all the time. I'm like, where do they do with all that stuff?
Right. It even got worse for me because I've really got.
I mean, it is true. Where did it go?
It goes down the drain is where they do with it.
So that then in thinking of the mercury and stuff, then the anger started coming on like, well, how dare my dad? And then my uncle and my cousin both are dentists. Of course, we went to them for dentists. And what were they doing? Filling every cavity with some mercury-based amalgam that just worsened the problem. But the knowledge was not there that we were doing something wrong. We thought we were doing something right, but I paid the price for it. Right. I'm the one that's damaged by it, but I can't blame anybody. It's just something that's there. But at least I know what the problem is and how we're getting rid of it.
Well, I'll share I'll share my story with you. It's same and different in that my metals, I decided what drove me to test myself was I saw a 12-year-old at Deeper Healing get a really high heavy metal test. And I'm like,
12 years old.
How's this little kid have such high metals? And I'm like, okay, I better check myself. I'm thinking I'm so clean, got my filtered water and, all the things. I really got clean when my son was born 27 years ago, premature. So I'm thinking I'm good. Feel healthy, not really having any health complaints. Knock on wood. And my results came back really high lead, really high mercury. And, it was like, have you worked in a factory? Are you a veteran? No, I'm a suburban mom.
Yeah.
Haven't done any of those things. Didn't work in an electrical business, And I'm thinking, my God, if this is what my results are, like, God help. everybody else who's
Right.
not even
Working in a foundry
like,
or a car, building cars
or doing anything.
anything. I mean, just a mechanic. I mean, cars have mercury in them. You know, we're exposed to mercury just being in the car with the carpet. The mercury, they use it as a cleaner,
Yeah.
right?
We have no idea.
We have no idea
things,
where
all the
all this
things.
stuff was.
Yeah.
And we say, okay, even you go back to the construction world. I mean, we had lead pipes, lead solder, lead this, lead that. Lead was in the switching that we had, and I mean, it's everywhere.
Well, you know,
Put it in paint.
everyone started talking about Flint, you know, the lead pipes and
Right.
the, you know, the whole thing in Flint, Michigan. And that got me thinking, I was like, is Flint an anomaly? Flint is
Sure.
not an anomaly. That's the thing no one's talking about. They're all like up in arms about this one city. When I started thinking about my lead, I was like, you know, I lived in Philadelphia, old city pipes. And I'm like, if this all was built up in my system when I was young, then that means I would have given it to my children. So then I decided I'm going to test my daughter, who's 22, and see where her lead levels were. Her lead is super high. So I'm like, okay, this means this was all before I was 30 years old at the minimum. Probably all during college and growing up. So now I'm like, we have to stop this downward slope. I'm like saying to my daughter, before you ever have children, we got to get this out of your body. And I saw a TikTok guy talking about if you're, you know, you need to check your metals. And I'm like, you know, he's right. That's a test that people don't really get. No one's really recommending it.
Yeah, it's like 40, you get your colonoscopy, where like at deeper here, like 40, test your heavy metals.
Test your metals.
Right.
Seriously.
And even younger, like my daughter looks very healthy and she seems healthy. And this lead is going to get her and it's going to get me too. And definitely, I would pay $1 million to go into some of these memory care facilities and test all these older people's metals.
Guaranteed.
Oh, they're loaded.
All the cognitive issues because of these high
I
toxic
would
metals.
love to see.
And it starts to skip on the record, and then it skips again. You can still hear the song, so there's nothing wrong with it. I still know the words to the song, and it skips, and you know, it skips more and more and more until the point that's like,
and then
why
it's
didn't
like
I do something?
Dementia,
now?
Alzheimer's, getting old, it's just getting old, it's just getting old. We used to age really sharp. I mean, people like I knew lots of people who aged very sharp into their 90s, like could run circles.
Right.
And now we're just, every time I turn around, there's a new memory care facility. You know, I think it is.
Well, and you know my story with my mom. So my mom had dementia and unfortunately passed a couple years ago, but she had very high mercury and lead. And her lead actually was higher than the mercury. And I think she was a hairdresser. And she owned her own hair salon. And this was back so there was lead in hair dye back in the day. And her being exposed to all of that, I think, is a piece of her dementia. She also went through chemotherapy, which I think just what that does on the brain. Exactly. More toxins. And, you know, they told us that she could have some memory issues.
Sure.
But
and you think about that.
But you add the heavy metals in on top of that. I would love to see, I mean, gosh, if we could just go in and be like, can you please pee in this cup for us and let us test it? Like it would be off the charts like that. I believe from everything that I know, and I've been doing this for 20 years now, seeing what I know with kids and this new generation coming up, I believe, I'm pretty confident a lot of their cognitive decline, when we talk about ADHD, you know, any kind of focus, like dyslexia, like when you start getting into a lot of the cognitive issues that these kids, it's heavy metals need to be the first thing that the parents go after.
I know.
I mean, when were you exposed? Not if you were exposed.
Well, they got it from us, which is the sad part.
Right.
It's like we're the generations, like our parents.
And once you have it, it attracts more of it really quickly, right?
Not necessarily. No, you're just kind of, your total body burden is already maxed out. So when more comes on top of it, like those neuro pathways and things just aren't, your body can only tolerate so much.
Right.
So it's like that bucket's full. So if you're born and your bucket's already halfway full, and then here you go right out the gate, I mean, I won't even start talking about the stuff I want to talk about with like what we do to children when they're born. They get about 78
Shot.
of them now these days that have
Me
heavy
too.
metals in
Yeah.
them. I think that contributes to it. And then are they able to detox? Some kids can detox and some can't. I think the older we're getting, our detox pathways are compromised. And that's a genetic thing, but it's also sometimes it's fixable and what you're exposed
I never even
to.
really thought about my mother. You know, she's 78. I could have led from her.
Oh, you totally do.
We never went the opposite way. I just went looked downstream at my daughter. But
well, we were the generation, our parents were the generation that grew up with it and they passed it along to us. And then we're having kids that are even more
Like the
maxed
next-
out.
yeah.
So it's this, and now, like, I mean, our kids, like, well, here's the problem. Most people can't even get pregnant now.
I know
Like, let's talk
the
about that.
toxin levels are so high.
I think it's all related. I mean, the metals might not be the reason. I think there's a lot more behind the infertility stuff. But the metal piece, I think, is just really, really important. I don't think doctors are talking about this. I think it's a confusing subject for people. It's kind of like the EMF thing. They're kind of like, what's electromagnetic frequency? Like, I don't have to worry about that. People are like, yeah, heavy metals. I didn't, I did the military.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, like, listen, I think the biggest thing I wanted to get across, because my mom had dementia, and knowing what I know, and then hearing your story and aging and seeing what we've seen at Deeper Healing with some of these other people, especially in the contractor, like for my men out there, like if you are, on the site doing demolition, contract work, cabinetry, like these men are doing really manly things and they're getting really sick and they're really scared and they don't know what to do. And they end up, after we tested this, we went back and looked at our numbers, the average amount of doctors that people see us before they get to our office, guess?
14.
Close. It was 15. 12 to 15 was the range. Yeah, me and Wendy looked at it. That's how many doctors people have to go through before they throw the towel in and are like, I'm going over here.
We would have fallen right into that.
Yeah.
We probably saw.
So I'm hoping by just with this and people understanding the mercury, the lead connection, especially if there's men out there, because I feel like, it's funny with Deeper Healing. I thought when I first came on board that we saw more women. And like and it's real. There's a lot more men that come
I would
to
say
see
men
us.
too. Yeah.
And we've looked at the demographics. There are on paper, and I'm wondering if they're just the ones calling for their husbands.
Mostly what I see. I'll see that, or it'll be the sickest member of the family. They'll start with. They'll be like, "Well, this is happening with you right now." Chip got better, and now all of a sudden his wife's like, well, I want to get in there.
I'm coming.
And that's what
I
ends
was
up
pushing
happening.
her. She didn't push me, but I'm like,
what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting on?
Yeah, what are you waiting on? She's been languishing doing her paperwork. Yeah. Yeah. But even I've noticed our last dozen stay-in heals that have come in, a lot of them come in with a support person who's just there to help out, and then they come in and they're like, wait a minute.
Sign me up.
I'm here for 2 weeks. I want to get some stuff done. And one of the main things they always want to get is they want to get a metals test.
Yeah.
They should. That should just be a prerequisite.
It's like
when you walk
you
through
only
the door.
need to do it one time.
Right.
You just need to know where you are, and then they make a plan and then you can see if you're clear. I mean, this isn't a test you're going to do a lot of times.
Right.
So it's I guess to wrap that up.
Yeah, well, I do want to mention something about the testing, because I think this is another thing that people are really confused. They're like, oh, I did a heavy metal hair test, or my doctor looked for heavy metals in my blood and I'm good, I'm normal. I'm like, whoa. Let's clear the heavy metal talk up. Heavy metals don't stay in your blood. So if a doctor did a heavy metal test, get a new doctor. They will circulate in a recent exposure. They'll stay in your system 24, 48, sometimes 72 hours, but then they will deposit into your tissues. You will not be healthy. You will not be well if you have very high levels in your blood. If you do detect it in your blood, then you are having a recent exposure and you need to really reevaluate, like, why would that be? And that's happened. We've caught that on people after they've been vaccinated, or we had one kid with lead that we suspected it, sent him in, got the blood test at the ER, and it was high. So you can catch it. If you suspect a recent exposure, go get a blood. The hair, not so much, not as accurate. Your body's secreting, the hair changes. So it's only going to tell you if you've had probably about a 2-month exposure, maybe
And
3.
you always want your total body burden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we do at Deeper Healing, and I think I want everybody to realize, like, if you're going to do it the right way and how functional medicine doctors are trained, environmental medicine doctors are trained, you do what's called a pre-urine collection metals test. And then you actually have to take a chelator. So we talked about that on the last episode. If you didn't listen to that, go back and watch that. But a chelator, it's actually a medication that we give that goes in and binds and claws the heavy metal. So it's going to attract, it's like a magnet. It pulls it out of the tissues. So that's where they're hiding. They're in our brain, they're in our kidneys, they're in our bone, they're in other organs. So we have to go in and pull them out. So if you just do a heavy metals urine test that you ordered online and you just peed in the cup and sent it off and got it back and nothing was there, that still does not mean you don't have heavy metals. You do a pre to see what was there without taking a chelator, and then you take the chelator, it gets in your system, and then you have to walk around with this big jug for 6 to 8 hours and keep peeing in it to collect all your urine, and then you have to mix it up evenly and then send it off to the lab to get it tested. And that's how we go in and pull them out to see what is your body dumping.
Yeah.
And that's how you find the high lead. And that's what's like, it's pulling it out of the tissues. That's what's there making you sick. So people don't really understand how all
that IV is only about an hour, and we'll do all of that in office.
Yeah.
So that, you know,
It's just
it's really simple. Yeah, it's real simple. That's the hard. That's
I gotta use the bathroom. Where can I set my jug? But, you know, it's always fun to do it because you know the results are coming. Right? I just did mine last week, so
they're really accurate too. Doing it that way, you'll get a really accurate test with, you know, not only what you have but where you're at with it. You know, unless of course you're like Mercury man over here.
I'm excited. I mean, I can't wait to go in to see what the results are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
So when was the last one that you had?
Well, my original one was the one I had. So Friday.
So this will be your second.
I turned my jug in on Friday.
And how long has it been?
4 months.
Okay. So sometimes, and you tell me if you see this too, but it can go up.
Sure.
And people, and people are like,
no, I'm excited.
But you're like,
right.
no, this is a good sign because you're like, now you're gonna pull because that first one that you did, that's just a snapshot of what's in there that needs to come out. So then when you do it the second or third or fourth time, sometimes it can go up.
You see the results though. At least
but you're like, I'm feeling better, but more's coming out. So that's always a good sign. But I know some people are like, no, there can't be more than there was at the beginning.
I don't think it could be a bad result, right? Even if it goes down, yay.
Well, you want to see it. You want to see it coming down at some point, but it can be a couple urine tests.
Yeah, but you're going through the steps to get rid of.
Or you can say, and it depends how loaded you are. I mean, that's where it's very personalized. It's so like you never know, but based on your history, what you said, how much you had at such a young age, I would expect it probably to be higher. But you're still feeling better because you've mobilized it, you've moved it out, and then it'll start to drop, which is awesome. But here's the reality: we're still gonna be exposed to some of this stuff just in our daily life, you know? So that's where you know what to do now to like keep it going.
I mean, they know there's a problem. Look at the old, we live in an old town, Charleston, right? And so all of these historic homes, they didn't rack the paint off of every piece of the inside of it. There's still lead in every house built before they took the volatile organic compound out of paint.
And we were born in the 70s. It was leaded gasoline everywhere.
Yeah. I mean,
I was starting to go through like, well, where could I have gotten this lead? And it was like leaded gasoline.
They didn't go change all the pipes when they said lead pipes were bad.
Pipes.
No, those pipes are still sitting out there.
I probably lived in a house with lead paint. I mean, I can look back and go, oh yeah, now it makes sense. You know, just living in America. It's quite, it's a little scary what all we're supposed to do. The good news is, you know, we can be empowered when we figure it out and we clear it out. We're just like, done, handled that.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
I feel really good about it.
Dry cleaning. I mean, look at, does anybody even know what that chemical is that they use in dry cleaning?
Oh, it's one of the most toxic ones.
I mean, it's horrible, right?
I should know the name of it. I can't remember.
But it's I'm sure it's got mercury and lead in it. You know, I mean, it's everywhere. And every time we break something down, I mean, you disturb paint in your house, you chip off paint or you scrub something or clean something, you're disturbing it and releasing it So it's usually on your hands in water or whatever you're cleaning with, or you've exposed it to the air. So then you're ingesting it. It doesn't take much.
It really
Doesn't
does.
take a lot. And your body says, oh, I don't have enough of that. Let's just store it. I don't know what to do with it. Right? What am I going to do with it? That's why it's stuck in us. It doesn't know how to process it
Exactly.
back out until we remove it.
My
And that's fun.
father-in-law is Irish descent, and he was in a small country schoolhouse growing up, and they used to give the kids Mercury to play with.
Sure.
That was a little toy for them.
We had it in lab and seeing how it balled up and how it rolled.
I remember that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You do?
With a toothpick and how it would
Wow.
follow
I
around.
probably just broke a thermometer by accident. Like, I don't know if it was in a science lab, but I do remember playing with it when I was a kid.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
actually really cool.
Yeah. But how much of that do you think you ingested or is sucked up in your skin just touching it?
I have no idea.
You don't.
No.
You go get a test and find out.
Yeah. Well, I've done mine. And if any of my colleagues are out there, they'll remember this. We in naturopathic medical school, we all had to do a pre and a post challenge. And it was our whole class. Like, that's how we learned. And we all had to do it. And we were all learning about heavy metals. And I did it, not even thinking two things about it. And I'll never forget Dr. Anderson, one of my professors, who's so awesome, high out there, Dr. A. He pulled me up in his office before class. He's like, I need to see you before class. And he was like, I need to show you your results because you are off the charts. And he had never seen like anyone he's been teaching at the school for that long be this high, like on the lab that came back. Like, I was so high off the charts. I looked at your numbers and I was higher than you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, we're in the same
That
club,
was
right?
me, yeah. And I have no idea where I got it from. Was it my mom? Because
now it makes it kind of.
But yeah,
feels
so I had to do a bunch of chelation while I was in naturopathic school. So I did, gosh.
So was this before you had your girls?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
This was when I was younger. This was when I was, because I went to naturopathic school right out of
undergraduate. Okay.
So I think I was like 22, 23 when I found out that I had the really high mercury. And here's the thing, I had ADD like my whole life. So, it wasn't that bad. Maybe some of my friends and some people would say like but in a good way. Like, that's just the way my brain works. I'm very creative. I'm not like it works a different way. I was still able to get through college. I was still able to do things, start a business, very entrepreneurial, spirit.
Yeah.
And loved naturopathic medical school, got through it, passed. It was just more like, focus stuff. I had to drink lots of teas and take lots of things for focus. And I knew certain foods that would throw me off, like dairy. And you start figuring things out when you get into naturopathic medicine. But anyway, the rounds I had to do, I think it was 8 rounds of chelation. And I did oral, I did IV and oral. So I would get one IV and then I would do the whole, 3 days on, 7 days off, like do the oral chelation. And I got my levels down pretty good. And then I didn't, eat fish, anything. I had them tested. I think the last time I had it tested was like 5 years ago. I need to do it again. We're going to do it again. Yeah. We need to compare compare our metals. We'll start a heavy metal club.
Really interesting if you have like 30,
I have a lot of labs. Yeah.
To see where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm chelating right now myself.
Yeah.
So,
well, the one interesting thing, like the thing that like scares me that I remember learning from Dr. Crinyon, like as you get older, so these heavy metals, they hide in your tissues and your bones, and certain metals have higher affinities for different ones. Like lead really likes the kidneys and the bone, and mercury is like, brain and kidneys and some others. If you go research it and you'll see like these heavy metals, it's all about affinity. Like where's it attracted? Where's it gonna stick and stay? Because every organ has a different frequency and it gets kind of complicated. But the biggest thing is a lot of them store in our bone, right? So as we get older, what happens as we get older, part of aging, we start getting osteoporosis, osteopenia. We're breaking down our bone minerals. So I think when we're younger, we're exposed to all these things and like the body's just doing what it knows to do. It's right. It deposits, kind of hides it. It's there. It's good. Yeah, we get exposed to more and more stuff, but then like later in life, now it starts leaching back out,
Mm.
because you look at lead and cardiovascular disease and all these, and I mean, there's lots of studies and stuff out there, but the whole heavy metals and bone has always fascinated me with people aging. And I'm wondering, and my theory
I
is,
don't think I really ever connected that.
my theory is this is part of the dementia thing.
Yeah.
So with my mom, so this is, and I don't really have research, this is just me knowing what I know. But I think, when she got 65, 70, and I was taking her to, got her DEXA scan, she had osteopenia, and then she started getting osteoporosis. And that was the time her memory started to get worse and worse and worse.
Mm.
And I was like, and I knew she had from before the really high mercury and the lead. And I've always we just don't know. Or maybe somebody out there does know, and share your info, because I really think there's something about all these heavy metals that are deposited in our bones. And as we get older and they start breaking down, they get redeposited back out. And I think they're affecting brain.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
So if you have any research out there on this stuff, that's my theory.
I like I said, I'd pay $1 million to have one memory care facility just check all the residents. I would love to see those tests.
We could talk to somebody around here.
Wouldn't that be wild?
Yeah,
It would be
they could be
wild.
voluntary, but like we know people.
It would be so
Like,
wild to see. Wouldn't it be just? I feel like they're all going to be off the
And
charts.
you know what else I want to test them for? A urine culture.
Mm.
Half of those people in there that have dementia. My mom had this problem too. Sorry, you got pulled in, roped into hearing.
It's very interesting.
Like my mom's story. So my mom had horrible, she started going downhill and she had a lot of health issues. I'm not going to get into all of it, but I can tell you one thing I learned. And if I can share this info with anybody out there, anytime an older person starts to have major cognitive decline, go get a urine test. So a dipstick, that's one way. It's like a urine dip, but make and beg your doctor to do a culture. Like if they don't do it, go to a different doctor. Like run the culture. My mom got, and I'm talking like if the cognitive decline along with really odd behavior and somewhat psychotic and delusional. Like you're like, what is wrong with you? And I think this too, for kids as well, because we were talking about my daughter. She had a UTI once and I was like, what is wrong with this child? And it was a UTI. But we went and tested it. The dip, they will not find it usually when they send it off in culture. And it happened. So I was like, oh, well, this is what's wrong with my mom. They put her on an antibiotic and all of a sudden she's like totally back to normal. And it's so common. And I didn't know this. And until you go through it, you don't know it. But until you have a loved one that like literally starts to go crazy and you can't figure it out. And then you find out it's a UTI. It's very eye-opening, but it is very common knowledge in these assisted living facilities and the memory care units. Like I didn't realize this, but they're all like, oh yeah, such and so, they have a UTI. Like all these people are getting UTIs that is affecting their cognitive behavior. Wow. And it's like half of the reason that they have, it's a thing. Wow. Look it up, ask people if you know any people that are in assisted living or memory care or does anything with older people. They all get chronic UTIs and a lot of them become very psychotic, delusional, and big personality changes.
Wow.
And it's all because of underlying infections. Wow. Yeah. Along with possible heavy metals. And I'm just kidding.
Well, to close it up,
yes.
If you haven't checked your heavy metals yet, what are you waiting for?
Yeah. See you next time.
We hope this episode inspired you. Here's how to go deeper. Visit deeperhealing.com to become a patient. Online, we have loads of courses and a free toxin quiz. Subscribe and please, please share this episode with someone who needs it. It's always that one-on-one support that really gets people to find deeper healing. Remember, this is educational content, not medical advice. The information shared here should be discussed with your own personal healthcare provider. If you're excited by listening to the medical experts or the personal recovery stories on here and you want to start your own deeper healing journey, go to deeperhealing.com and start your process.